where to sleep, and this I found it again in my romantic vision of life. I thought it's really beautiful that I work like this, not really get money, but just a place to sleep and food, and I can write. And the only problem was that you work so hard that you don't really write, and because you're so tired. I also found out at that time that when I'm heartbroken or in love with somebody that was in Israel, but I was in Europe, so the only thing I can do is feel sorry for myself and not really write. And the only way I can create in general is when I'm happy. So I'm not sure it's a good way. Maybe that's why I don't have a book yet. But and I did it for 5 years, working with different people in Europe, learning really beautiful, unnecessary things like blowing sugar and stuff like this, which I loved it, and I didn't think if it's, I didn't really think if it's something that I can utilize after, but that's not was my way of thinking at that time. And eventually I came to Paris, and I don't know if there are French people here, but French are French, and they don't, they say they're very proud in everything they do. Also in chocolate, they think they do the best chocolate in the world, which is true, I think. And the guy I found there, which if you ever go to Paris, I think it's, I really recommend, it's on 149 University Street. It's a corner. It's really like the most old-fashioned, beautiful chocolate store one can imagine. I mean, it's tiny, very different than Max Brenner, like very tiny, traditional, brown, old-fashioned, and when you open the door, there is a little bell, like the whole beautiful theater of the old time. And I think it's amazing. And he said, "It's you can come and work here, but I'm not going to pay you, and the salary will be just working with me," which I can say. I don't know, 15 years from now, after, I can say that it was a very good investment, especially in the markets of today. So it's really, the interest on this knowledge was unbelievable. And I learned how to make chocolate the old way. Again, thinking about writing. I worked with him a year and a half, ran out of money. Had to go back to Israel to work. My idea was that at that time I gained so much knowledge that I thought that I will just take this knowledge, sell it to people in Israel who are interested in, I don't know, pastry knowledge, you know, people who have coffee chain shops or something like this, and then get some money and go back to Europe and continue like this. The main thing I knew that I can't start life. I mean, I'm not going to university, I'm not going to anywhere of these places, and I want to continue living like this without any responsibility, like a little Peter Pan. But Peter Pan or not, I mean, life is not so much supporting Peter Pan, so I needed money, and I met a guy in Israel. We were both 27, and he was a new immigrant to Israel from Denmark, and we became friends, and he told me, let's open a store together. And we opened a little chocolate store, which again I thought, oh, I will have a little chocolate store. I will work there in the morning, make my little chocolates, ride my bikes, go back home and write my book. But then I found out that there is another world that is called business, and that when you put your hands into this world, it's not about riding bikes anymore. And if you decided to enjoy even a little piece of it, It's like, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy it today, but it's like making a deal with the devil, because you have to work, seriously work, and you are going into the world of grown-ups, which is really not for Peter Pans, and it's all about, and a signature has a meaning, and when you sign something, it means something, especially in the bank. And then you have to start to work and make a lot of chocolate in order to support all your dreams and beautiful things that I immediately had when I started to do it. Immediately I wanted to have a beautiful shop with beautiful boxes, with beautiful this, with beautiful that, and I was flooding with ideas, but somebody had to finance these ideas, and it was me and my partner. So we worked, and we opened stores, and we had more and more people, and it started to grow and grow and grow. And I have to say that very quickly after we started, I had something in mind that I think today is Max Brenner. I don't know if you've all been to our store, but this for me was the basic idea of what I'm doing today. And it was, I felt that there is a very big contradiction between the way people think about chocolate and the way they can experience it in the retail market. And for me, retail market today, whatever, clothing stores, bookstores, whatever, is almost like a theater. We come to stores, even this store, we don't come just because of a functional need. We come because we want to have a whole experience of whatever we are looking for. And I felt that there is something weird because chocolate is so, we have so many associations and emotions and stories, and our life is so much connected to this very magical ingredient. And somehow when we go to the market, to the retail market, to experience it, the experience is almost contradicted to the way we think about it. It's always like, it was always about this very European experience, which is beautiful, but it's very limited to, let's go into a shop, we buy the chocolates almost like diamonds, it's all very like prestige, don't touch, elegant. But a lot of people think about chocolate like Charlie and the Chocolate, like let's touch it and lick it. It's the most sexy thing, the most romantic thing, the most whatever. There are so many things about chocolate that we are all talking about them, but we couldn't really experience them. And I also saw that in my shop, I sold pralines, and in the first shops that I had in Israel, I was very traditional. And in the first shop that I had my workshop at the back of the little retail store, and I was making chocolate there, like chocolatiers, chocolate makers make, and I had these big slabs of chocolate, and I was breaking them with a hammer. And when people saw this, customers that came in and saw, they asked me, how can we buy this thing? It's nicer than the pralines. And I was just taking it and wrapping it in a cellophane and selling it to them. And they were so happy and smiling, and they were calling their friends, we can buy this slab. And then I was mixing chocolate there, and I was pouring it on their hand, and they were all talking about this. And then I felt that there is really a place to do something else in chocolate. And it was very easy, because the whole idea was for me to think something about chocolate and then do. For example, I don't know if you know here our mugs, like this one, the hug mug. So the idea was simple. I said, okay, when I drink hot chocolate, what's my first association? Which I think it's most of the people. It's like winter, under the blanket, falling in love and hugging a cup of hot chocolate. So I said, so let's call it hug mug and create a mug that, so let's not drink chocolate like coffee or tea. Let's hug it. And there were so many things like this. There is one thing, where is it? Maybe we don't have it. But there is another thing we call sakao, which